What's going on, guys? Good Monday evening. It is February 3rd, the day after Groundhog Day. What's going on? Meteorologist Jonathan Keg is back with you. We are here to talk a lot of fog and a lot of warmth. So if you're not a fan of the chill that January brought, this first week of February is going to make up for it. So let's get right to it. The camera is brought to you by WeatherStem. Thank you for WeatherStem for letting us use the cameras across all of Florida and across a lot of the country. Above my head this evening is Marineland. Below the middle box here, my Brady Bunch boxes, is going to be Ponce Inlet. We, at least a little bit ago, we've been watching these cameras for the better part of the last couple of hours, could see a flashing light there on the beach in Marineland. You cannot see that anymore as the fog is coming in really, really thick. We're going to take a closer look here. I also have Ponce Inlet brought up here with pinpoint accurate data. And you see we're at 62.4 degrees, but look at how thick the fog is, especially right along the Atlantic coast. We're going to talk about why that is coming up in about 10 minutes, give or take. But right now, the fog is super thick. It is going to get even more thick and work its way inland overnight. And as we move into the day tomorrow, early in the morning, so the commute time tomorrow morning could be a little rough when we're talking about fog. Here is another perspective. This is a live look now in Daytona Beach. Tons and tons of fog sliding on through Central Florida. And again, the thickest stuff right now is tied right to the coast. If you are just joining us, we are live now on News 6 Plus, on clickorlando.com, and of course on the YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, post in the comments where you're tuning in from. We'd love to see what part of Florida or across the country that you are tuning in from, and then we are going to get at it. So thank you guys for being here on 10 o'clock on a Monday night. Almost said Friday. I wish it was the case, but it is not. Okay. So, mentioned about the fog, you can clearly see it or not clearly see anything. We have a dense fog advisory. Now, this is hot off the press. You may even see this change in real time here as we go forward live here on clickorlando.com, News 6 Plus, and the News 6 YouTube page. The National Weather Service is going ahead and issuing dense fog advisories. It started along the coast about 30 minutes ago, and now it has expanded into interior Volusia, Seminole, Orange County, interior northern Brevard County, and then along into the west of I-75 in western Marion County, also including western Alachua County, including areas west of Gainesville. We're likely going to see this fill in. I will show you that visibility forecast coming up through the course of the next 20 or so minutes that we are hanging out together on this Monday evening. But it's going to be wild again. There was a lot of fog out there this morning as expected. And again, we're expecting it again to be pretty nasty as you get up tomorrow. So do me a favor, already start kind of planning your day tomorrow to give yourself a little bit of extra time. Again, we have issues, especially on the highways, when you're talking about adding thick fog and adding the commute time around. We all know that in Florida. I want to take a quick second to say hey to Joe in Daytona. Welcome. Hope you are doing all right in the fog out there. I wonder if the fog has reached your area yet. At least right on the beach, it's pretty thick where we were taking a live look. Lynn, what's going on in Lakeland? Thanks for being here tonight in Sophia, all the way in Texas. Hope you're enjoying your warm-up as well. So thank you guys a ton for being here. But again, dense fog advisory also issued for where Joe is in Daytona. Not yet in Lakeland, I'm assuming, and I think that's going to change going forward. We'll take a look at some of the current visibilities, and right now, in real time, the visibility now down to 0 in Daytona Beach. Joe says on west side of US 1, are you seeing fog where you're at, Joe? Would love to know if you're actually seeing the fog come in on the west side of US 1. According to the sensors, we are seeing that now reach 0 visibility in Daytona Beach, 2-mile visibility in New Smyrna, and that fog has reached it kind of splitting where Joe is then and moving down I-4. Sanford also reporting 0-mile visibility. Same deal at the Cape. And then also 1-mile visibility being reported now in Cocoa Beach. And where you see kind of in between the observing sites, that little gray area pop up in between the villages where it says 10. And 10, by the way, is perfect visibility. In between the villages in Ocala, there's some fog already starting to develop here. So what we have going on the coast is sea fog moving in, and then we have some radiation fog working its way in inland areas. And we're going to talk about that coming up after a short little break in a few minutes. Dominic, to answer your question, yes, there's going to be some fog in Orlando tomorrow. It depends upon kind of where you were at for how thick it is. Fog is kind of really finicky. Like for instance, how Joe's saying it's not that bad where he is right now. Meanwhile, this is what the beach looks like. Let me bring up a live look there of what the beach is. This is Daytona Beach. So right along the coast there, where we're seeing that zero visibility being recorded, or being reported from the observing site there, it's pretty nasty. So it's going to be that kind of give or take kind of thing. More often than not, though, it is going to be that widespread view of some pretty thick fog tomorrow. And you clearly see that right now, the worst or the thickest is right along the coast. That's why tomorrow, or for tonight and into tomorrow morning, we went ahead and hoisted our inconvenient weather day wording. And what that basically means is that it's going to inconvenience your plans, or has the potential to do that. Here at News 6, we have our two designations. We have our weather alert day, which this is not. We're calling it inconvenient because, again, you might need to give yourself extra time tomorrow, and certainly pay a little bit of extra attention on your commute, for the widespread thick fog that's already developing tonight, going to be around tomorrow morning for your commute, and then with visibility at near zero at times. And in fact, we're already verifying that near zero visibility in a couple of neighborhoods across Central Florida. Speaking of which, it was really, really warm today. And on our 10 p.m. live streams, we get to get really hyper local. So that's one of the reasons why I love this 10 p.m. stream that we do every night, Monday through Friday. So bookmark this if you are a fan of getting the weather in Central Florida. An hour before the 11 o'clock news, where we get to have kind of the interaction here and get to go neighborhood by neighborhood, and have a little bit of extra interaction, and get really pinpointy, as I like to say, and get nitty gritty. For instance, Mount Dora, we're still around 70 right now. Denellen, we're at 65. So a complete 180 from how we ended, or that third week of January, where it was really, really, really cold. Remember, highs on that January, what was it, the 22nd, 23rd, I think it was, struggled to get out of the 40s. It didn't get out of the 40s. And now we have overnight low temperatures getting back into the 60s and 70s. Dominic, thank you a ton for being here. This wouldn't be possible without you guys hopping on the live stream, so I appreciate it a ton. Thank you guys for tuning in. Holopod, Deer Park, we are at 72, 71 in Palm Bay, and forgive my voice, it might go in and out. Getting over a little bug I had last week, and it's starting to impact the voice, so I might not be able to go as long as I want to, or I normally go, because I have to do the 11 o'clock news as well on News 6. And if you are hanging around and staying up, I would appreciate you turn that TV dial to News 6 at 11, where we're going to get the latest on the fog, which is coming in hot. Excuse me. So before we take a super quick break, and it'd be a 2-minute break, just want to give you an hour by hour forecast to give you a sense of what we're going to be up against tomorrow. Really warm start. But if you're up early, do watch out for that fog. Again, that is no doubt the theme of this forecast going forward for the next couple of nights. We're going to talk about why that's the case. If you're interested in the why, in that, we're going to go through a little bit of the science as to what we're dealing with and why the fog is here. But just to give you, if you can't stay around for that, just wanted to give you this hour by hour forecast. By 9 o'clock in the morning, we're still dealing with that really thick fog. Temperatures back to the upper 60s, though. And then I think around lunchtime, that's whenever we're really going to try to break free from the grip of the fog. And then we're going to see some sunshine mixed with some clouds, a day very similar to what we saw today, which is going to help put temperatures back into the low to mid 80s again. So really, really warm day again coming tomorrow, 10 or so degrees above where we should be for this time of the year. We will get all into that in terms of the averages, and how far away we are from that, coming up in just a couple of minutes. So we are going to get ready to take a short break, and I think I'm going to take some of the advice that Sophia is giving me to get some hot tea with lemon and honey. Need some of that. I'm going to get some of that whenever I get home tonight. Forgot to bring the tea to work. That was the key, but thank you. The lemon and honey tip. Love that. So I appreciate that. Alrighty, guys, going to take a short break. It's only going to be 2 minutes, and then we will be right back. I promise. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you a ton for being here this evening. We'll catch you in 2 minutes. Alrighty, guys, we are back. Thanks for holding tight with us as we took a short break. This is the 10 p.m. live stream on clickorlando.com, News 6 Plus, and on the News 6 YouTube channel. Thank you a ton for being here. Before we get going, post in the comments where you're tuning in from. We were having a nice conversation before with several people across the country and across the state of Florida where we are watching the fog roll in. Also, do me a favor. When you post where you're tuning in from, I would love to know what the weather is doing in where you're tuning in from. So post the location and post if you're seeing fog, post if you're seeing clear skies. Would love to know that. Those reports kind of help us out with the ground truth of what we're seeing on satellite and then some of the actual reports coming in. Before we get into this, I wanted to show you again the fog, real thick fog. This is what we've been talking about all night. And this kind of, Dominic was asking before about, is it going to be thick in Orlando? And it kind of goes in and out, the fog does. And it was a lot thicker about 10 minutes ago in Daytona Beach. It is still super thick down beach now, in the distance. Before you couldn't really even see some of the lights there. But it is really, really thick at this point. Little Bird Flu says it's so thick over here by Seabreeze Bridge. It's like a direct shot of breathing in from a humidifier. It smells funny too. Yeah, it does have that very misty smell. Excuse me. It's wild outside, and I think it's going to look really, really wild again tomorrow. It's that kind of that musty, that stagnant air mass as that fog is going in. So here's what we're going to talk about for the remainder of the show here. And this is going to be more than 3 minutes. The thing is going to show that it is that 3 minutes, because that's what I normally do for TV. I forgot to change that bottom line there under what we're tracking. But anyway, taking a live look above me in Marineland, Florida, it's all fogged in. There was at least a little bit of light there on the beach. And you might be able to see it in the bottom corner. We try to narrow this up. I need to go this way. There we go. It is right there. That's where the light is hanging up. Richard says light fog in Ormond by the sea. Appreciate that report. Ponce Inlet is just below me. After we get through some of the fog discussion here, we're going to continue to look at the 7-day forecast. That is going to be really warm and kind of muggy. If you were outside today, certainly it felt muggy to me. It had that little taste, just a taste of summer. And then embedded in this very warm week is also going to be limited rain chances. So might want to think about starting to run the sprinkler if you have it, or watering the lawn. I know my lawn is about to get fried. A lot of people's lawns are already fried. There hasn't been a ton of rain, some decent rain in January, but I think the spigot's really going to shut off. So the deal, what we have going, I'm going to show you the mechanism between this sea fog that we are getting first. And we had the fog really coming in hot already by 3, 4 o'clock, maybe even earlier than that, right along the I-95 corridor. And here's the deal. First and foremost, to get the sea fog, you need to have a pretty cool ocean, water source. And we do. Those several cold fronts that came down really set the stage for this. Water temperatures in the Atlantic are super chilly. And we have the same thing going on the Gulf side. We also need a warm, moist air mass to move over that cooler water. So we also had that. You felt the mugginess, you felt the humidity in the atmosphere earlier this afternoon as well, in addition to temperatures getting into the upper 70s and lower 80s. What's happening and where we get the fog to start coming into play is that warmer air mass that's hanging out over the cooler water, it starts to cool. When air cools, it condenses, it starts to saturate a little bit. So now we have that cooler air on top of the cool ocean surface, and then we start to get little water droplets to form. Then the saturation happens, and then that's where we get the fog. And you see my face is kind of covering up the arrow there. Let me take that full. That is the wind flow. So in this case, we had the breeze out of the east, off of the Atlantic, keeping it right then and there early this afternoon right along the coast. But now it's going to be working on spreading from the Atlantic inland through the course of the overnight hours. We also have closer to the I-75 corridor what we call radiation fog, and that's from the clear skies, calm winds. You have the temperature starting to cool and fall to the dew point, and then you get saturation that way. So we really have fog coming at us from both ends, the sea fog and then radiation fog in there as well. So that was the setup, and that's going to bring the method of my madness here to show highs today over the coast. got into the upper 70s. We were at 73 in New Smyrna. Again, we had that slight jog out of the east off the Atlantic, keeping us relatively cooler. We were at 75 in Palm Coast, 77 in Daytona, and then 80s in Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral. So a super warm day. So there is our warmer air mass involved. And then here are the water temperatures. So these are the real-time water temperatures right along the Atlantic coast, 50s and 60s. So a really chilly ocean set the stage for this. And then when you get an unseasonably warm air mass kind of colliding with that, that is the perfect ingredient to get that sea fog rolling right along the coast. And again, to put this into perspective, today we were anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above normal. Tomorrow we're going to be in that same ballpark as well. Maybe even a little bit warmer, anywhere from 5 to maybe 15, especially closer to Jacksonville and Tallahassee, into that 10 plus degrees above normal. So it was a obviously warm afternoon, complete 180 from where we were. And again, that's going to be the case going forward. I'm going to rapid fire some of this. Okay, it's not that foggy in Daytona Beach. My source isn't coming in. This is what it actually looks like in Daytona Beach. So I mean, actually pretty similar. Let's go back to that. Yeah, I mean it's pretty similar. The feed is not pulling in on this camera here. I'm kidding, of course. The feed, there's something wrong with that feed there into my weather computer, but that's what it actually looks like, and it's really not that far off. Again, it is really, really foggy out there. So again, I mentioned this before if you were just joining us. Do me a favor and already plan on giving yourself extra time tomorrow. It's going to be super inconvenient, the weather, because it is going to be like pea soup when you're on your commute in. If you guys are just joining us to see there's a bunch of extra people on the YouTube stream, thank you a ton for being here with me late on this Monday evening. If you're hanging out in bed, scrolling through your feeds or whatever, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit of time anyway. Give yourself a little bit extra time if you're working through Central Florida tomorrow. There are the visibilities. I want to show you real quick before we go. I'm going to show you two more things because I can feel my voice already losing it, and I have to save it for the 11 o'clock news tonight. But I wanted to hop on here to give you guys an early heads up if you're going to bed early, because I do think this is a pretty big deal tomorrow. It's going to look kind of weird when you're up. It's going to look very, very foggy. But there is the visibility at 4 o'clock in the morning all over the place. But you see there are spots, again, that are recording a 1/10 of a mile visibility. Again, that's going to be near zero visibility. And then it's going to get even thicker as we get towards daybreak tomorrow. Look at that kind of footprint there through 7, 8 o'clock. Pretty much all of Central Florida into that, what we would call dense fog, a quarter mile or less. That's going to be the definition there. So there's going to be the opportunity for most, if not all of Central Florida to be under a quarter mile visibility. So make sure you're tuning in the News6 tomorrow morning. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is going to guide you through that. And of course, we also have traffic safety expert Trooper Steve. He's going to have everything locked in on the roads and watching those all the traffic cameras across Central Florida to make sure you guys know what you are going to be dealing with tomorrow morning. So please check in with News6 tomorrow. No better morning crew in Central Florida than on News6, WKMG, the CBS affiliate out of the greater Central Florida area. Certified state trooper will help you get through the morning. As always, he's the best. Tomorrow morning, very warm morning, waking up into the mid 60s in some cases. And there's going to be a lot more where this came from. I mean, my gosh, next 3 days, low to mid 80s. We're going to be watching for a lot of fog over the next few days because of that same reason. Warm air mass over cool water. It's going to generate more of that sea fog, especially along the coast. And then look at this. I mean, talk about a complete 180. I mean, we did talk about this. If you frequent News6 Plus, and by the way, this is my little shameless plug to my show that runs in the morning called Weatherwise. We do a lot of cool stuff. And actually, if you like trivia, tomorrow is going to be Trivia Tuesday on Weatherwise. There's a little trivia question. We break down the answer and some of the science behind the answer. And then there's another little segment on Tuesdays that runs. We're ranking the 50 states from the most dangerous to the safest, relatively speaking anyway, to live when it comes by the weather. So if you don't have News6 Plus, I would love for you if you go to your smart TV or any kind of your Apple TVs or Roku's, Fire TVs, and download News 6 Plus. It's free. There's a ton of our content on there as well. But you can catch that show that's live at 7 o'clock in the morning if you're an early riser. There's also hyper local weather that we give during that show. But if you don't, we run it on demand. You can find it on News 6 Plus by going down and scrolling down to the W's and finding weather-wise. It's all the way at the bottom because it's in alphabetical order. And unfortunately, weather starts with the W, so it's all the way at the bottom. So scroll down to see that. I would love for you to check that out. But we're going to talk a lot about that tomorrow, and we go in depth on that show. So I wanted to bring your attention to that if you were unfamiliar. But the long range segment that is on there, which is what I was getting at, we looked back at January and we talked about that we were expecting this giant mega warm up, if you will, into the first half of February. And so far, that part of the forecast has come into fruition. So again, would love for you to go check that out. If you're into nerding out about the weather, I'm a big fan about that, of course. So I hope you are too. Alrighty, guys, before I lose my voice, just want to thank you again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. If you are new to the News 6 channel, hit that subscribe button for me so you can catch us every night, Monday through Friday, pending I have a voice tomorrow. But we will be around if possible. And again, we're up in about 35 minutes. Tune in to see if I have a voice at 11 o'clock. That's going to be the kicker there. And we're, of course, going to break down this fog. We'll talk about where it has made where it has gone further inland. And already the fog is re-thickening up in the foreground, and it's getting even thicker in Daytona Beach. So just wild. Little Bird Flu says, like backside of a hurricane hitting in blizzards in Pensacola, this weird fog. It seems to be that category. It certainly is. 'Tis the season, I will add, for the fog to happen because we are starting to get that warmer air to return. We do have the relatively cooler Atlantic, but I mean, man, it looks ominous when it's there. And it is wild to say the least. Alrighty, guys. Thank you a ton from the Digital Weather Center. We will see you guys back here tomorrow at 10 o'clock if I have a voice. And again, we'll see you in about 30 minutes on News 6 WKMG at 11 o'clock in a few minutes. Take it easy, guys. Thanks for being here.